friends, I'm Katie from Lady Red Crafting. The other day I spotted some placemats and a runner at the Dollar Tree and thought these were way too cute to sit under a plate. So today I'm giving them a whole new life as fall decor. So let's jump right in and get crafting. This wood pumpkin that I found at the Dollar Tree is definitely one of those staple items they have year after year. I'm going to start out by just removing my tag, and then using my heat tool, I'm going to heat that glue up on the bow so I can remove that as well. Next, I'm going to be taking my Apple Barrel Light Mocha paint, and I'm just going to add that to a dish. And then I'm using a spray bottle of water, and I'm just going to thin out this paint a little bit because I want to use it more like a stain and less like a paint. And even with thinning out the paint, I did think it went on a little bit dark. So I did come back with a baby wipe, and I just wiped off some of that wet paint so that you could really see the wood grains come through the paint. And I feel like this really worked nicely because I was still trying to get that light color wood, but have a little bit more coverage. So here is a good look of what our pumpkin looks like now before we add our next step. Now to decorate our pumpkin, we are going to grab one of these placemats from the Dollar Tree and this leaf runner from the Dollar Tree. And I think these runners are new this year to the Dollar Tree. So when I was cutting out the pumpkin shape for the center part of this pumpkin from my pineapple, it really didn't have a template or anything. I just kind of freehanded it and it looked just fine. Then after I did that, I decided, you know what, I better come up with a template. So what I did was I took a piece of parchment paper and I traced around the other two pieces on this pumpkin. And these are just the raised pieces of the pumpkin. Next, we're just going to go ahead and cut out our templates for our pumpkin. Once we have those cut out, I'm going to go back to that leaf runner. And I kind of place the template on the top front side of the runner to kind of see where I would like the piece to be. And then I flip over my runner. And now I'm going to just tape the template down to the back side of this runner. And I'm just using painter's tape for this. And then I'm taking my scissors and I'm just going to cut around the template. And then if you still have any tape remaining, you can just easily remove that since it's the painter's tape. Now, while we have a quick moment, I want to tell you all about the playlist I'm a part of this month. What Would You Make? Hosted by Brenda at Rustic and Lace DIY and Christine at Divine Design. And the guest host this month is Leslie from Happy Tuesday. The link for the guest host and the playlist is all listed in my description box below, so please check them out and give them some love. Thank you, and now back to our video. Now, once we have all of our pieces cut out, I am going to do a quick fit check to make sure they are perfectly shaped for our pumpkin. Once we are satisfied with our cutouts, I am going to grab my Titebond Quick and Thick glue. Now we'll take that glue and we'll just apply it to one of the raised pieces on our pumpkin. I'm using a paintbrush to spread this glue out. Now don't worry, this does dry clear, so you won't need to worry about it showing when you're done. Now I'm going to place my piece of mat over the top of that glue. Then I'm going to grab some cling wrap and I'm going to take a little layer of cling wrap and layer that over the top. Now I'm going to press everything down into place, and once I feel that everything is secure, we'll slowly remove that cling wrap and let this dry. Now we're going to repeat our same steps on the other two pieces of our pumpkin. Now, while that is drying, let's make a bow. To make this bow, I am using a 1-inch thick ribbon. You can use whatever ribbon you'd like. This ribbon I did get from Walmart last year at Christmas time. So I'm just going to make 3 loops of this ribbon, and each loop is going to be slightly larger than the next. Next, I did cut another piece of ribbon, and this is going to be our tail for our bow, and I just fold it in a little V shape. Now I'm going to grab a small piece of pipe cleaner, and I'm going to take these ribbons and these loops, and I'm going to stack them on top of each other to make a bow. And I'm going to scrunch them in the center, so then that way you have that nice center piece. And then we're going to take our piece of pipe cleaner and we're going to wrap that around the center to secure everything in place. Now, while you're holding that bow in the center, I just fluff everything out the way that I would like. After I have everything the way I would like, I do grab another small piece of ribbon. This is about 1.5 to 2 inches. And I fold it into thirds, and I'm going to go ahead and just wrap that around that piece of pipe cleaner to cover that up. And this will give a nice finishing touch to our bow. And I'm going to secure that in the back with some hot glue. Now, once our bow is complete, I do go back and I go ahead and I dovetail the ends of my ribbon. And now that our bow is complete, we're going to go ahead and put everything together. To give this a higher end look, I am adding a ribbon for my hanger instead of using that twine. So this is just a 1/4 inch thick satin ribbon. You can get it at any fabric store or craft store. Next, I'm going to hot glue that bow right to the top of our pumpkin. And now our 3-tone pumpkin is complete. I just love the look of this with the wood and the sparkle from those mats. This just gives it such a high-end look, and it's really more neutral, so you could mix this in with lots of different decor pieces. Let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Today's craft, we're starting out with a wood pumpkin that I did get at Dollar Tree, but I believe you can also get these at Hobby Lobby. This is a nice thick pumpkin. It's very easy to use. First, I'm going to paint this with my Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster. We're going to paint both sides. And for this craft, we're going to be doing both sides of our pumpkin. So for our first side, I'm taking my Mod Podge and I'm just going to go ahead and paint a nice coat over the top. Now, while my Mod Podge is drying, I'm going to prep my napkin. And I'm just going to be using one of these napkins out of my stash. And this color theme is one of the colors that I use in my office at work. So I wanted to make a pumpkin to go into that office that would kind of match the color scheme. So I'm going to remove the back 2 layers of this napkin. And to do this, I'm taking a piece of painter's tape. And I'm just placing that on the back side so I can remove those back layers. Now let's go ahead and layer our napkin on top of our pumpkin. And I'm just going to strategically place it so that I get the flowers on there the way that I would like. Once I'm satisfied with the positioning of my napkin, I'm going to be taking a piece of parchment paper and we're going to layer that over the top. And then using a hot iron, we're going to iron this into place. Now, to remove the excess napkin, I'm going to be taking a zip sander. This is just a little finger sander that you can use to sand off the napkin. And I always sand in a downward motion, and this makes it a lot easier for me to get that napkin removed. If you don't have one of these sanders, no problem. A sanding block or just a piece of sandpaper would work fine. Now, to seal the side of our pumpkin in, I am going to take this outside, and using my Rust-Oleum clear enamel, I'm just going to spray a nice coat over the top of our pumpkin. Now, once our pumpkin has completely dried, we can go ahead and start working on the second side of our pumpkin. So let's flip our pumpkin over and get started. For this side of our pumpkin, I'm going to be using one of these fall leaf runners that I did get at the Dollar Tree this year. And I am going to cut a piece off that will fit over the top of our pumpkin. Now let's grab our Type Bond Quick and Thick glue, and I am just going to add a little bit of this to my pumpkin, and using my brush, I am going to just paint this glue right over the top of the pumpkin. Now let's go ahead and lay that cutout right on top of our pumpkin. Before I press down too much, I am going to grab some cling wrap, and we're going to just lay the cling wrap right on top of our mat. And then I'm just going to lightly press everything down into place. And once I feel that everything is secure to our pumpkin, we'll go ahead and remove that cling wrap and let this dry. And now that our piece is dry, I am going to be taking my Waverly chalk paint in the color Plaster. I'm going to be doing a very light dry brush over the top of our pumpkin. Now we could just leave it the way it is and not paint it, but I really wanted a distressed look on this, so that is what I'm doing. But if you didn't want that, you could just leave it the way it is. So I'm trying to do a really light coat here, and I'm still getting too much paint. So I am going to be taking a little water bottle, and I'm just going to spray the paint on the pumpkin a little bit. And then I'm just going to brush some of that paint off so it fades it a little. Now, once the paint has completely dried, I did come back in with my zip sander, and I'm just going to sand a little of the paint off. So we'll get a little of that sparkle from the mat underneath that will shine through, but it gives it a really cool faded texture, which is what I was looking for, and it would match my decor. And for my final touch, I am going to be adding a bow to both sides of my pumpkin. I got this ribbon from Amazon, and I really love how whimsical it is. And I'm just going to be tying a basic bow, and I'm just cutting it on the diagonal. And once I have both bows made, I am just going to hot glue each bow on the top of our pumpkin. And with having identical bows on each side of the pumpkin, it won't matter which side you're displaying because it'll look nice on both sides of the pumpkin. And now here is what our adorable pumpkin looks like on both sides. I just love how this turns out. And I'd love to hear from you guys. Which side of the pumpkin would you display? Would you display side 1 with the decoupage? Or would you display side 2 with the rustic look using the table runner? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this content, don't forget to hit that like or subscribe button below. Thank you. These wood biscuits are becoming one of my favorite items to craft with. The ones that I'm using for this craft are a number 20. And you can find these at most hardware stores, so Lowe's, Home Depot. I have also found them on Amazon, so I'll leave a link for that in my description box below. I'm taking 5 of these little wood biscuits, and I'm using some painter's tape, and I'm taping them down to a paintable surface. Now I'm going to grab my Martha Stewart metallic champagne paint. And I'm going to be painting the fronts and the sides of these biscuits. And by taping them down on this paintable surface here, which is just a piece of cardboard, you can get the angles of the outside edges really easily. So you can actually hold up that piece of cardboard and just put it at an angle. And it just makes painting those sides very simple without getting your hands all messy. Now, while all of these biscuits are drying, I'm going to grab this placemat that I found at the Dollar Tree, and I'm taking a 6th biscuit, one that I didn't paint, and I'm going to use it as a template. And using basic scissors, I'm going to cut out 5 pieces of the mat to match up with the biscuit. So you can see here, I'm just grabbing a small pair of scissors, and I'm just trimming around that biscuit so that I have 5 little overlays for all of my biscuits. Next, let's go back to the biscuits that we painted, and I'm taking my Type Bond Quick and Thick glue and adding a little bit of glue to each one of these biscuits. Next, I'm going to go ahead and grab a paintbrush, and I'm just going to paint this glue so I have a nice layer on top of each of the biscuits. Now we're just going to take those little pieces of mat that we cut out and put them on top of each one of these biscuits. And I'm using some cling wrap to help press down that into the glue, and then I just go ahead and let this dry. And then we repeat the same step on the next 4 biscuits. Now, once our biscuits have dried, I did grab one of these cute little stands from the Dollar Tree and some of these pit berries. I'm going to take these pit berries and I'm going to form a stem for a pumpkin. And once I'm satisfied with my stem, I'm going to place everything on my little canvas here just to see how everything will set up. So we're going to start out by adding our stem. And then I'm going to add each of these little biscuits to form a pumpkin. So it'll be a row of 3 and then 2 on top. And now that we know where we would like to place everything, I take my Tight Bond Quick and Thick glue and I start gluing my pieces into place. Now to attach my stem, I did end up using some hot glue, and the last 2 biscuits, because of the way I wanted to layer them on top of the initial 3 biscuits, I did use the hot glue because I just was slightly adding some glue on the inside of those biscuits, and then I just set that top biscuit right on top, and it just had a really nice quick hold, and it turned out amazing. Now, I wasn't really liking the pitberry as my stem, so I went back to that mat that I cut out for the biscuits, and I found a thicker strip on the outside edge that I was able to cut a cute little stem out, and I decided to use that instead. So I actually just pulled out the other stem, and I went ahead and hot glued this on instead for my stem of my pumpkin. For a finishing touch, I just added a quick little bow to the top of the pumpkin. There was a little bit of hot glue still sticking out, so I was able to just place that bow right on top, and it covered up that hot glue. Now our cute little pumpkin is ready to display. This is a great little shelf sitter. It'd be also something you could use for a tiered tray, but I just love how this turned out. It's a totally different way to use those wood biscuits for something fun and fall. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you had fun seeing how a simple runner and a placemat from the Dollar Tree can turn into beautiful fall decor. If you enjoyed this project, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a future craft. And if you would like even more inspiration, freebies, and behind-the-scene fun, make sure to sign up for my Lady Red crafting newsletter. The link is down in the description box below. Thanks again for watching, friends, and until next time, craft more, stress less.